Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about showing people the error of their ways. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, how can I show my company that it's a bad idea to not have a proper software architecture and do testing and things of this nature? So the short answer is you can wait until everything crashes and burns and people start asking the question, why is this so horrible? How can we improve this? Or you can be the expert, or you can possibly, this very rarely works, but you can possibly also highlight improvements to an already existing shitty situation. That's pretty much all the things you can do. This is a really problematic thing. It is. I really feel so. Because convincing people that something is really bad or that something needs to change is really, I'm gonna be honest, I know that it is, there are tons of people who has this idea that you can do the last thing I was talking about, that you can just do a presentation or something like that and then suggest an improvement. And you can absolutely do that. But I will argue that whenever you put together a PowerPoint presentation or you go up on stage and you start pitching different ideas, unless your idea is in some way more compelling in some fashion, and the people that are listening are actually open to the idea, which is usually only going to happen if they're technical people. It's very hard for a developer to sell the idea that you need to overhaul a business process, because for business people, they already they don't care, guys. They don't care at all. They don't give a shit about your amazing ideas unless it equates to faster delivery times without pretty much any cost, and that's about it. They are only interested in one single thing, and that is that it works and that it works on time, or rather that's two things, if we're keeping track. And so I will say that is extremely hard to do. And this problem is just extremely hard in general, but I have seen this work other times as well. And the first thing that usually works is if they already feel the pain, like really feel the pain. And that is, I mean, stuff has to go fairly far until the business people starts to, like the people who are in some fashion responsible, feels that, oh, now we need to address this issue. So all you can really do is that you can highlight and say, we have issues. Until they really feel it themselves, they won't listen, pretty much. Or maybe you will get a token capacity here and there and so forth. It's more because they want to keep you happy than it is because they really want to invest in things. And this is, I'm sorry to say, this seems to be a human thing, where unless the house is literally on fire, nobody's gonna care. As long as it doesn't feel tangible and they don't feel that sense of urgency, they will just keep on trucking like normal, and they will ignore any type of issues, no matter how much you warn them. So that is the most solid way of being able to suggest an improvement or anything like that. You basically have to wait until the shit is so bad for the company that they need to address it in some fashion, because otherwise it's going to impact future work, delivery speed, anything like that. Anything that is tied into money or stuff of this nature is the thing that is going to dictate if they're going to do anything, pretty much. The second thing that you can do is that you can be the expert. And being the expert is probably, I would say that most times when I see a company actually adopt new principles and actually go in a new direction, it is a combination of one and two. So they are feeling some strains, they have some type of issue with certain areas, and then some person comes along who has a fair bit of seniority, ideally almost a little bit of fame, and suggests something that sounds pleasing to the company and they kind of just adopt it immediately. They don't have to work for this. Like the last example I gave, like where you have to do presentations and stuff of this nature, they might do something like that, but they don't actually have to work all that much for it because their opinion is already so highly valued within the company that pretty much anything goes. An example of such an individual is, or an example of such a situation can be that if you are a junior developer and you want to move from one tool to another because you think that that's going to make an improvement or change a work process or something like that, you basically have to be in a situation where people are already open to listening to you, and you can present and you can suggest and so forth, until the cows come home. But that's not going to change. But if the CTO comes in, that person just snaps their fingers, and I promise you it will happen immediately. Immediately. The day after, maybe even the same day, because that's usually how it goes. It's not about whether something is a good idea or a bad idea when you're trying to move people in a new direction. It is about who said it. That's it. Who made the call. If it's a junior developer, nobody fucking cares. If it's the CTO, everybody cares because that person is both higher up in the food chain, and they're also they also have the perceived, at least, seniority to make a good decision. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you want to move your company in a better direction than they're currently working, or like improve some type of work process, the three ways you can do that is either through highlighting issues and waiting until things are so bad that people are literally asking for a solution to this problem. Unfortunately, that's it really is a shitty way of working, and it's also the horrible part is that never really takes care of a holistic type of thing. It might help you with one issue, but it's not going to help you with taking grabbing the bull by the horns on the whole company. It's just going to help with one part. The second thing is that you can be an expert, a person who has a lot of influence, or someone who is perceived to have really good ideas or be very respected in the work environment. Because perception is everything, even in software development. Well, not in software development, but in office politics. And office politics is unfortunately an evil we have as well as quite a lot of other companies, I'm sorry to say. Lastly, you can try to push for better improvements by making presentations and holding meetings and stuff like that. The issue with this is that this very rarely works unless you are, as I said, already perceived to be a little bit of an authority on something. And it also takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy from you, and you have to invest in, and I mean, you're not going to most likely get the capacity during your work hours to do this. So unless you can steal that time during work hours, you have to do that in your spare time, and that brings us back to the fundamental question. Do you want to invest all of this time in order to help people that are not open to the idea of saving themselves? That's something I leave up to you. Some people are open to do this, and some people are not, but all I can tell you is that just make sure that it's worth it, because otherwise you might just wear yourself out and get really frustrated, and still nobody's going to listen to you, and that might leave you a very bitter and angry programmer. Have a great day.